Gaming Bolt presents 15 greatest Skyrim quests that you need to play. Skyrim is chock full of excellent quests, and while a lot of the moments that stick with you are ones of your own making outside of the realm of scripted storytelling, Skyrim does, to its credit, have a lot of great quests that are adored by one and all.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
In this feature, we have listed what we think are the 15 of the best quests. From the Dark Brotherhood and the Companions to the Thieves Guild and the excellent DLCs. There were a lot of quests for us to choose from, but we've managed to narrow it down to these 15. We haven't listed them in any particular order, so give it a listen and tell us if you agree in the comment section below. Beware, spoilers for the game may and will follow, so tread carefully if you care about any of that. Innocence Lost. This is a quest that kicks off the Dark Brotherhood storyline and has to rank amongst the most morbid ones in the entire game. It all starts when you hear about a young boy named Aventus Artino in the city of Windheld, an orphan who is performing the ancient ritual of the Black Sacrament. He's trying to summon an agent of the Dark Brotherhood, an infamous order of assassins, and when you enter his house, the boy mistakes you for a member of the order. Sick of the treatment he and a bunch of other orphans have been receiving from an old lady who runs their orphanage,
she's terrible to all of us!
He asks you to murder her. The quest itself is pretty cut and dry and doesn't involve any groundbreaking mechanics to impress the player.
Why, that little bastard. You tell him I'm coming for him, and when I find him, it'll be the beating of his miserable life.
It is the morbid implications that make this quest as good as it is, and the fact that it serves as an introduction to the Dark Brotherhood only makes it better. The Way of the Voice. This is one of the very first quests in the main storyline, and depending on how you play the game, one of the very first quests, period. Though chances are if you play Skyrim the way that I play it, you won't get to it until you're at least a couple dozen hours into the game. You are summoned by the Greybeards to the throat of the world so that you can be taught how to use the power of shouts. The climb of 7,000 steps and the actual lessons that follow make for a very enjoyable experience, and definitely one that sticks out in memory as one of the best the game has to offer. The House of Horrors. A truly riveting mission. With an excellent horror fantasy atmosphere, this quest is one of the most memorable in all of Skyrim, and the fact that it is closely linked with the fascinating race of supernatural entities known as the Daedra only make it more so.
Keep your eyes open. Daedra are powerful creatures and tricksters. Never know what you'll find.
While not the longest quest, or even the most integral to the main storyline, or the many concurrent side quests of the game, it definitely makes for an enjoyable, outlandish experience and deserves to be ranked among the best Skyrim has to offer. Battle for Whiterun. The Civil War questline in Skyrim is truly captivating, and the quest that sees you defending or laying siege to Whiterun, depending on who you side with in the war, is a personification of that questline. The game truly makes you feel like you are a part of an epic battle involving one of the major cities of the kingdom, and the actual mechanics of the battle itself are also quite solid. Depending on whether you fight for the Legion or the Stormcloaks, the consequences at the end of the battle and the effects of the Civil War play out in fascinating fashion. But even if all those things are ignored, the sheer scope of this quest makes it one of the best in the entire game. Hard Answers. The Thieves Guild questline divides the Skyrim fanbase, with some people falling in love with its intricacies, while others criticize it for being too long or not being interesting enough to hold the player's attention for too long. While it's easy to see the merits of both of those arguments to an extent, it is admittedly a very inconsistent questline. The mission, known as Hard Answers, is, at least in my personal estimation, one of the best in the entire game. From hunting down the large spider to sneaking around in the Magician's Museum to being introduced to the complexities of the Dwemer ruins in Markoth, a fascinating city to say the least, this quest grabs hold of your attention and just does not let go. The Silver Hand. This quest is memorable for a lot of reasons, but the best of them is the fact that this is when you find out the dark secret of the honorable band of warriors known as the Companions. All of them, or at least all of the ones that matter, are actually werewolves, and now so are you. And this particular quest lets you use the powers of lycanthropy in all their glory. After you attain your powers, or your curse depending on how you see it, you're tasked with entering a fort full of werewolf hunters and shredding them to pieces. And yes, it is as awesome and brutally satisfying as you would expect. The Black Star. Another one of Skyrim's Daedric quests, the Black Star is a blast from the start to finish. You're tasked with retrieving the titular Black Star, a Daedric artifact, a soul gem that never breaks. You do that by defeating the soul that is currently residing in the gem, and everything from the journey leading up to the battle to the duel itself is thrilling. It's not a very long quest, but it's certainly an enjoyable one. The fact that you get a kick-ass soul gem that makes your character an overpowered badass, if you know how to use the gem right, it just makes it that much better. Dawnguard. The Dawnguard quest is not part of the original game itself, but was added as DLC later on, but it is worth the price of admission. For the purposes of this list, we're not going to be talking about the entire DLC package, but just the main Dawnguard quest. Putting its own unique Elder Scrolls twist on the vampire mythos, the Dawnguard questline deserves all the praise it gets thanks to its fascinating storytelling, the awesome locations it makes you visit, and the fact that it lets you become a proper vampire overlord, which feels just as awesome as you would expect. We can see that putting an entire questline in a list that is only covering singular quests is a little unfair, but we just couldn't resist. Dawnguard is that good. The Mind of Madness. One of the most bizarre and, as a result, enthralling quests you will come across the entire game. And considering the number of bizarre quests that you come across in Skyrim, that's saying something. It's no surprise that this is another Daedric quest. The Mind of Madness is a quest that is especially rewarding for fans of Oblivion, with tons of references and callbacks to the 4th entry in the Elder Scrolls series. But even regardless of all of that, players will definitely enjoy the quest thanks to its outlandish, to say the least, nature. The Book of Love. This is probably the odd one out as far as all of the quests listed in this feature are concerned, but it's no way lesser for it. If anything, its unique nature just makes it a little bit more special. The quest itself involves, for the most part, nothing but you making your way to people in different places and having conversations with them, but the way it unfolds is a joy to behold. It's one of the most well-written quests in Skyrim, and definitely one that should be experienced by anyone who plays the game. Hail SITHIS. One of the best quests in the Dark Brotherhood storyline in Skyrim is Hail SITHIS. The final chapter for the Brotherhood that you take on sees you attempting to assassinate none other than the Emperor himself, along with a few others on the way. Although the quest design is actually rather simple, which is true for most quests in the game, the story context leading to this quest, which has you and the Dark Brotherhood pull back from the brink of near-total collapse, makes this a thrilling narrative moment in the game. The political intrigue that it throws into the mix, its overlapping with the main game story, and the rapidly escalating stakes that it confronts the player with makes Hail SITHIS among the best quests in the game without a doubt. The Wolf Queen Awakened. On the other hand, the Wolf Queen Awakened is without a doubt one of the most elaborate quests in Skyrim, and in design, it is far elevated over any other quest in the game. Multiple objectives, which in turn change and mutate over the course of the quest. A labyrinth subterranean dungeon, and an epic boss fight all makes this one of the best and most memorable quests that there is in Skyrim. What could make all of this better still? The potential for some great loot, which this quest also allows for thanks to a lot of hidden chests that you can score some treasure from. Ill Met by Moonlight. Ill Met by Moonlight is basically one of those quests that wouldn't have been out of place in CD Projekt Red's The Witcher 3. It has a similar premise, with an unknown creature terrorizing people and even committing a grisly murder. It features you, the Dragonborn, trying to get to the bottom of things, and then being faced with a rather difficult choice when you do. A moral quandary awaits you at the end of Ill Met by Moonlight, one which is far more nuanced and textured than just about anything else found in the game, or, to be honest, anything else Bethesda has ever done since, really. A Night to Remember. Skyrim's version of The Hangover features you, the Dragonborn, getting shit-faced drunk and wasted, and then waking up the next morning with no recollection of anything you did, which is no good because it appears as though you caused a lot of damage and destruction, and people are pissed at you for that. A Night to Remember plays out like a standard quest and lacks the elaborate nature of The Wolf Queen Awakened or the moral conundrums of Ill Met by Moonlight. What it has and what it delivers in spades is a tongue-in-cheek sense of humor and an implicit recognition of the fact that when playing a game like Skyrim, the emergent narratives that the players form for themselves are the most important. Blood on the Ice. Another elaborate quest with multiple parts and objectives, some actual thrilling storytelling, and an instantly arresting premise: the serial murder of 3 young women. The quest sees you trying to uncover who is behind these heinous crimes, and there are some legitimate curveballs thrown along the way. While it lacks the moral texture that makes Ilmet by Moonlight so compelling, Blood on Ice gets by simply because of how great the setup is, how satisfying the payoff is, and how thrilling the quest is to actually play. And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at Gaming Bolt, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.